Sometimes healing feels like a scam. You work so damn hard to stitch up the bleeding parts, to rebuild your sense of self from the rubble, to breathe without choking on old grief, and then life slaps you across the face with a reminder that you're not as healed as you thought. That's what happened to me last night, in the middle of a completely average Tuesday, while waiting for my soggy pad thai in a downtown Thai joint. I looked up, and there they were, my family, sitting at a corner table, all glowing and golden like a Norman Rockwell knockoff. My mom, Harriet, was fussing with Jenna's collar. My dad, Thomas, was laughing as if his life were perfect. Jenna, my older sister, was sipping wine like she wasn't the reason I hadn't slept properly in years. And Eli, her husband, the man who made sure I'd never be welcome at that table again. It felt like watching a highlight reel of people who used to love you, only to realize they never really did, at least not the way you needed. Eli was the first to see me. His gaze didn't flinch. He just tilted his head slightly, like he'd spotted a stray dog from the shelter he'd once kicked. Then he leaned toward my dad, whispered something with that smug, rehearsed confidence, and like dominoes, they all turned to look. Dad's face dropped first, stone cold. Then Mom pursed her lips like I'd tracked mud onto the nice carpet. And Jenna? Jenna looked at me like I was a roach on her wedding cake. The venom in her eyes hasn't dulled with time. But Eli, that jerk, smiled, not a friendly smile. Not a surprised smile. No, a slow, victorious one. The kind of smile that says, you lost and I'm still winning. I grabbed my takeout and left. Didn't say a word. Rain was pouring, soaking through my hoodie, but my chest was hotter than the noodles I didn't even end up eating. And I swear I was 25 again, standing in the middle of my apartment, staring at my sister's tears and my parents' disgust, while Eli looked on like a twisted stage director who'd nailed opening night. Here's the part where Reddit usually says, okay, but how did we get here? I'll tell you. My family, the Shaws, were the type of people who smiled big in Christmas cards and died on the hill of reputation. Dad was a respected high school principal. Mom was a tenured lit professor. My sister Jenna was their crown jewel, a real estate hotshot with a megawatt smile and a perfect social media presence. And me, I was Delaney Laney Shaw, the soft-spoken glitch in the system. A trauma therapist who dealt with darkness they didn't want to acknowledge. I didn't wear designer suits. I didn't date people with LinkedIn profiles that made my dad beam with pride. And I definitely didn't have the ability or desire to pretend everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. When Jenna brought Eli into our lives, I knew something was wrong. He was slick. Too slick. The kind of guy who knew how to charm a crowd and silence a room. On paper, he was perfect. Handsome, owned a wellness and fertility clinic in Seattle, and had a degree that made my parents swoon. But the vibes were off. Have you ever met someone who smiles just a little too long? That was Eli. One Thanksgiving, he cornered me in the kitchen. His eyes flicked over my outfit, lingering way too long. Then he said, you really should wear things like this more often. You've got a better figure than Jenna. I laughed it off, tried to pretend it didn't feel gross. But inside, I froze. I knew exactly what he was doing. Then there were the accidental touches, the inappropriate texts. The final straw was a message I got late one night. You looked amazing tonight. It makes me wish I had met you first. I blocked his number and decided I had to tell Jenna in person, not to start drama, but to protect her. But he didn't stop there. The next time he and Jenna were visiting, I stayed in my room just so I wouldn't cross paths with Eli. But the next thing I knew, Eli came into my room and cornered me. I won't lie, I was scared. The way he touched me inappropriately sickened me. I somehow managed to push him and slap him hard across the face, and then I warned him I would tell Jenna. But Eli beat me to the punch, and oh boy, he came with receipts, fake ones. Jenna showed up at home the next day like a storm, with no warning. Her face was white, mascara streaked. She shoved her phone in my face, showing a string of texts supposedly from me, all fake, all edited to make it look like I was throwing myself at her husband, pleading with him to leave her, saying I loved him. He'd even crafted fake replies, painting himself as the honorable husband who loved his wife too much to give in. My parents stood behind her like judges at a sentencing hearing. I tried to explain. I begged them to listen. I told them about the real texts, about the blocking, the inappropriate comments, the messages, and about the last day that made me feel sick to my stomach. But my father, he looked right through me. "You've always been jealous of your sister," he said. "We see that now." My mother nodded. "You need help, Delaney," they made it clear. "Either apologize to Jenna and Eli and admit I had a problem, or leave." My dad literally said, "Get out before you ruin something else," so I did. I packed 2 suitcases, cried so hard I couldn't see through my windshield when I drove away. Ended up in Portland. Tanya, my best friend from grad school, took me in. She let me cry on her couch for months, fed me when I forgot how to eat, and reminded me who I was when I didn't recognize my own reflection. I rebuilt myself slowly, opened my own therapy practice. It's small, but mine. I specialize in betrayal trauma now. I help people who were gaslit, discarded, and made to feel invisible by the people who were supposed to love them unconditionally. Sound familiar? I became the therapist I wish I had back then. And yet, 6 years later, one smug look from Eli, and I felt like I was right back on that carpet, watching the people I loved believe a lie that ruined my life. So now I'm sitting here staring at my cold pad thai, asking Reddit for something I'm scared to admit. Was I so unimportant that they could just forget me? But I knew better than to expect anything from them. But again, am I the bad guy for letting it all go? For never fighting back? For never exposing Eli's lies? I could have posted the screenshots, could have blasted the truth, could still, honestly. But I didn't. I let them believe I was the villain because it hurt too much to try to make them see me. And they looked so happy last night. Happy in a lie, happy without me. And that hurts in a way I can't even explain. Like the people who were supposed to catch me were the ones who built the cliff in the first place. So what now? Do I keep walking away? Do I set fire to the narrative they built at my expense? Or do I just eat my takeout and go home like none of it ever happened? Comments. I'm sorry for what you went through, but 6 years is a long time to stay silent and just let a lie ruin your life. You had plenty of time to fight back, especially since you claim to help others deal with betrayal. Feels a little hypocritical. Honestly, if you're strong enough to help clients, why not stand up for yourself? Letting that smug guy win without a fight kind of makes it seem like you gave up too easily. Update 1. Grief doesn't knock. It just barges in, mid-laugh, mid-life, mid-bite of mediocre leftovers. 5 months ago, I stood outside a Thai restaurant in the rain, clutching my takeout like it was a life raft, while my family sat inside, warm, glowing, and whole without me. I'd spent years convincing myself their absence didn't sting anymore, that I'd healed, that I was good. Then I saw their faces, saw his smirk, and boom, 6 years of therapy and hard-won peace disintegrated like wet tissue. Reddit saw that moment with me. You were there in the comments, in the messages, and you were split. Walk away or burn it down. I chose silence. Moved harder into my work, picked up kickboxing, and poured everything I had into rebuilding a sense of self. I was doing okay. I'd locked the Shaws away in a mental box labeled "Do Not Touch" and thrown away the key. Then last week, that damn ghost reached out, an email from Jenna Shaw Cartwright. Subject, please. Yep, Jenna, my sister. The same one who stood against me, sobbing 6 years ago, waving around fake texts and calling me a predator. I hadn't heard her voice since, and suddenly she was in my inbox. I stared at that subject line for 10 minutes, finger hovering over delete. But curiosity is a stubborn thing. I opened it, and what I read didn't make sense at first. It sounded like she'd been unraveling for a while. She and Eli had apparently been going through IVF treatments for the last couple of years. Failed cycles, hormone issues, endless bills. His clinic kept blaming bad luck. Then a few weeks ago, she met a woman named Maribel at one of her open houses. Maribel, scared and confused, asked if Jenna was Delaney. Me? Jenna told her no. Maribel looked panicked. She said, "Oh, she told me to meet her here. She said I'd get paid more if I carried the twins." Then she pulled out a cheap phone. The contact name, Delaney Shaw. I swear to God, my heart stopped reading that line. Jenna's email said she confronted Eli that night. His response was the same tired playbook: gaslighting, deflecting, weaponizing her hormone treatments to make her question her own sanity. But for the first time, she didn't buy it. Something cracked, so she dug. She found one of his old work phones buried in a closet box, and inside, my name was everywhere. Texts with women, appointment reminders, payments, flirty messages, ultrasound photos all filed under me, not some random alias. My actual name and credentials, like he hadn't just framed me once, but had been building this whole damn empire of lies using my identity. And suddenly, a few weird things from my own life came flooding back. A licensing board bill I never initiated. An insurance letter mentioning a psychological IVF clearance I never conducted. At the time, I chalked them up to admin errors. Tanya, my best friend and a therapist herself, was the only one who raised an eyebrow. "No one's that sloppy, Lainey," she said. "Someone's messing with you." Turns out she was right. And it's not just someone, it's him. Eli, the same man who destroyed my name, my family, and damn near my sanity. Now Jenna wants to talk. She says she was wrong, that she's scared, that she thinks Eli's been using me this entire time, that she's starting to realize how deep his lies go. "Please," she ended the email, "can we talk?" And I swear I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to hit reply and unload 6 years worth of hurt and rage. Another part wants to curl into the life I've built, the one that doesn't include any of them, and lock the door forever. Because let's be real, I worked hard to feel okay again, to walk into my own practice with my head held high, to believe I wasn't crazy, even when my entire bloodline made me feel like I was. And now this. It feels like a trap, or maybe a reckoning. Because what if she's telling the truth? What if this is finally the crack in Eli's perfect facade? What if this is my chance to flip the script he wrote for me? The one where I'm the villain, the seductress, the sick sister? What if I finally get to be the one holding the lighter? I haven't responded yet, but I keep rereading her email like it holds the answer. I keep staring at those words. I was so wrong, and wondering if they're genuine or if they're bait. And honestly, I don't know what scares me more. So, Reddit, what would you do? Open the door, or slam it shut and never look back. Update 2: Truth has a nasty way of clawing its way out, even after you bury it alive. 2 weeks ago, I was still frozen. I'd read Jenna's email, her terrified, desperate attempt to reconnect after 6 years of silence, and I hadn't replied. Not because I didn't believe her, but because I couldn't afford to be stupid again. I wasn't about to offer my throat to the same wolves, so I listened to you guys. You said, "Don't trust it. Don't walk through the front door when you can torch the whole house from the outside." And that's exactly what I started doing. First, I found Maribel Cruz, the young woman who mistook my sister for me at her open house, the one who claimed I, Delaney Shaw, had promised her extra money to carry twins. It took some digging, but I located her through a private support group for surrogates. I reached out pretending to be a researcher investigating unethical practices in the fertility world. She was open at first, said a man from Cartwright's clinic had approached her directly, called it a private deal, told her the intended mother was a therapist named Delaney who wanted it off the books. She never met Delaney, just got texts and calls. But the second I pressed her for details, contracts, names, she got spooked and ended the call. 2 days later, I got served a certified cease and desist from a disgustingly high-profile law firm, repping none other than Dr. Eli Cartwright. He accused me of harassing his patients, of professional misconduct. The day after that, I got an email from the state licensing board. My license was officially under investigation for unethical patient contact. He knew. Somehow he knew I'd talked to her. He wasn't just watching. He was ready to torch everything I'd built for myself, my career, my credibility, my peace. I fell apart. No poetic metaphor needed. I straight up collapsed on Tanya's floor, shaking, sobbing, and gasping like I'd been sucker punched. "He's going to do it again," I whispered. "He's going to take everything again. And this time no one's going to stop him." Tanya didn't say, "You're strong." She didn't try to hug it away. She sat there quiet, jaw tight, eyes sharp. Then she said, in the coldest, most furious tone I've ever heard from her, "Then we destroy him first. Not with emotions, with evidence." It was like a light switch flipped in me. No more crying, no more hoping for someone to believe me. We were going to fight back. So I thought about who might have seen behind Eli's perfect mask before me. My mind landed on Kyle Jennings, Eli's college roommate, his best man. Quiet, distant guy. I remembered how awkward he always seemed around Jenna and me. I found him on LinkedIn, now a systems analyst in Denver. I sent a message. I think Eli Cartwright is running a scam. I have a feeling you know something. I'm not looking for revenge. I'm looking for the truth. He replied within the hour, call me. Well, it wasn't that simple to get him to reply, honestly. I messaged him persistently for a whole week before he finally responded. We talked for 2 hours. Kyle sounded like a man who'd been choking on a secret for way too long. Back when Eli launched his clinic, Kyle was helping him set up a server. While organizing backup files, he stumbled on a hidden, password-locked folder labeled Donor Bank. Inside was a horror show, scanned IDs, forged reports, dozens of surrogacy forms, and across every single psychological evaluation required to clear a surrogate, my name, my credentials, my own signature. Delaney Shaw, M.A., LPC. He was running a full-blown illegal surrogacy operation, using undocumented or vulnerable women, forging my clearance forms, pairing them with wealthy international clients who didn't want to wait or play by the rules, hiding the whole thing under my stolen identity. Kyle confronted him. Eli laughed, brushed it off as creative paperwork, said he was helping families, offered Kyle a cut. Kyle walked, but he kept quiet out of fear, guilt, shame, maybe all three. He'd carried that secret for years until now. I still have a copy of that drive, he told me before we hung up. He didn't just frame you for sending one creepy text, Laney. He built a whole empire using your name. And just like that, the whole game changed. This isn't family drama anymore. It's criminal. It's trafficking. It's calculated, long-term identity theft, layered under glossy smiles and Pinterest-perfect family dinners. And now we're the ones setting the board. Wetbait 3. I didn't plan to become the villain in someone else's love story, but here I am, sitting in Tanya's living room, which now looks like something out of a detective show. Whiteboards, sticky notes, and court files instead of throw pillows and scented candles. 2 months ago, I was the silent sister, the disgraced therapist, the woman Eli almost wiped off the map with a fake signature and a smear campaign. Now I'm the one holding the match over everything he built. People probably think I went radio silent because I was scared. Like Eli's legal team barked loud enough and I rolled over. They don't know me. I wasn't hiding. I was plotting. I didn't disappear. I just got busy, turning my rage into receipts. Tanya, God bless her, called it war room mode. That's exactly what it was. Two over-caffeinated, underpaid women turning a therapist's living room into an investigative bunker. And when I say we left no stone unturned, I mean we even mapped out lunch breaks. Tanya went full forensic ethicist, lining up my client logs with Eli's fake reports. She highlighted dates I was in Tacoma while I was apparently clearing women for surrogacy in Seattle. He didn't just forge my name, he rewrote my entire life. Kyle came through like a legend. He overnighted a hard drive, no questions asked. I opened it and nearly cried. Clinic records, sketchy cash deposits, and this creepy donor bank folder like Eli was running some underground baby ring. Tanya Cross referenced everything. She went full Sherlock while I played the frustrated Watson, pacing around the room and eating too many almonds. But we needed more than digital breadcrumbs. That's when I called Miguel. Miguel and I go way back. He owns a high-end landscaping and security company now, which is a wild combo until you need to install spy-level gear without raising alarms. I told him everything, no sugarcoating. He just nodded and said, "What do you need?" What I needed was eyes on the one place the clinic didn't monitor, the back lot. Miguel's crew rolled in under the guise of upgrading the sprinklers. What they actually did was install motion sensor cameras with crystal clear resolution. Less than a week later, we had it. Eli in broad daylight handing a fat envelope to some guy in a black SUV in exchange for a file folder. A literal cash for surrogacy handoff. No more rumors, no more guessing, just cold hard proof. We had the digital trail, expert verification, and now video footage. We could have gone nuclear, FBI, media, even Reddit. But I took a different route. I put together a flash drive, just the greatest hits, my forged signature on Maribel's waiver, the cash handoff, Eli's sketchy financials, and a text from Jenna's own phone showing Maribel was asking for me, not her. Then I wrote a note, only 2 lines. I'm not here to ruin your life. I'm here to prove he ruined mine. I mailed it to Jenna. She has a choice now, to finally see what I've been screaming into the void for 6 damn years, to wake up next to the man who betrayed her, Or to stand with the sister she once loved before Eli turned her heart into concrete. I know she's already vulnerable, but she has to get herself out of Eli's life without getting herself tainted, and that's completely on her, how she does it. And me, I'm just here waiting. For once, the ball's not in my court. But it's hard not to check the mailbox every 10 minutes. Wait for. Winning doesn't always feel like winning. Not when your victory burns everything down with it. I didn't expect silence from Jenna. I thought she'd have a meltdown. But 2 days after getting that package, she didn't just react, she detonated. She filed for divorce, just like that. Cited fraud. And then the very next day, I walked into the Seattle PD, lawyer in tow, flash drive in hand, and gave a sworn statement that scorched Eli to the ground. Turns out my ex-brother-in-law had forged her signature on multiple fertility waivers. Surrogates Jenna never even knew existed. She didn't just give them the drive, she gave them everything. And it blew up fast. Within 48 hours, the feds and state agents raided Cartwright Wellness, walked straight into Eli's office, and cuffed him like it was a scene out of some Netflix true crime series. Medical fraud, wire fraud, identity theft, and the worst of it, human trafficking tied to illegal surrogacy. My stomach dropped reading the list. 2 brave surrogates came forward publicly. Names changed, obviously, but their stories were brutal. The kind that makes your blood boil and your chest ache. They sued Eli, the clinic, and the entire board. And me? Finally, my name was cleared. The state board publicly apologized and dropped its investigation. And in my own civil suit against Eli, the judge didn't hold back, said it was one of the most vicious professional takedowns he'd ever seen. As for the damages awarded, let's just say I'm not worried about rent. But the part that gutted me most was the fallout at home. Emails surfaced between my own father, Thomas Shaw, and a university dean where I'd once applied to teach. Turns out my loving dad had blacklisted me, called me emotionally unstable, a family disgrace, all while I was barely surviving, just trying to keep my name from being smeared. He lost everything. His fancy emeritus title, gone. My mom took a quiet sabbatical from her job. Couldn't stomach the shame, I guess. Their spotless little world collapsed under the weight of their own cruelty. And I'm still standing. Cartwright Wellness filed for bankruptcy. Couldn't keep up with the lawsuits, the debt, the wreckage Eli left behind. Last week, their whole clinic, building and all, went up for public auction. Guess who bought it? Yours truly. And baby, I'm worth it. Final update. The weirdest thing about healing is that it never feels like healing when you're in the thick of it. It just feels like tearing down drywall with your bare hands, hoping the mold underneath hasn't eaten everything alive. 6 months ago, I stood outside the clinic Eli once ran, the one that used to carry the Cartwright name like some untouchable golden stamp. That name is gone now. The sign above the door reads, The Haven Initiative. No frills, no fake promises, just hope with boundaries. And yeah, I own it now. Bought the entire place using the money I won in the damages lawsuit after Eli's arrest. I didn't just want the keys to the building. I wanted to raise every piece of his legacy, strip it down, and build something that actually helps people. The Haven Initiative is a nonprofit, trauma-informed fertility and wellness center. We do things transparently, ethically. We also offer free legal advocacy for surrogates and egg donors. Because of what Eli did, that can't happen again. Tanya's my co-director now. Kyle Jennings left Seattle and returned to help design a secure, encrypted donor tracking system. It's already being looked at as a model across the Pacific Northwest. I've got a team now, a really good one. The room where Eli used to whisper lies and manipulate women during his private consults. That's our legal aid wing now, run by the same lawyer who took him down. We turned his house of manipulation into a sanctuary of justice. Every wall echoes back with a different story now. Stories we're helping rewrite. Ellie got 12 years in federal prison. My testimony sealed the deal. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just told the truth. Now, let's talk about the ghosts. Jenna's house was seized when Eli's assets were frozen. She's holed up in a tiny house with my mom. The two of them living in the shadows of the lives they swore were untouchable. Funny how fast family loyalty crumbles when their golden boy gets exposed. 3 months ago, I saw a new intake file, Jessica Smith, trauma therapy. She'd attended for weeks before I realized it was her. Jenna, my sister, using a fake name to sit across from the sister she helped ruin. I didn't blow up. I walked into her next session, sat down, looked her in the eye, and said, "You don't need to fake your name anymore, Jenna." She broke, sobbed, apologized, said she believed him, that she was weak, that she let them break me. I didn't hug her. I didn't tell her it was okay. I listened, just like I do for all my clients. She didn't get comfort. She got the truth. Closure, not reconciliation. Then came the letter. A single page, typed neat, signed by both my parents like it was a contract. Words like regret, misguided, and misunderstood. I never wrote back. I couldn't even feel anger anymore. It was just silence. 2 weeks ago, my mom came to the clinic. No warning, just stood there looking worn down and hollowed out. "Can I talk to you?" she asked. I handed her a pamphlet. "We offer support groups for families of survivors too," I said. "But there's a waiting list. I haven't heard from them since, and for the first time in a long time, I don't care if I ever do." Comments OP. I respect the hustle and how you flip the pain into purpose, but not going to lie. Part of me feels like this whole thing reads more like a movie than real life. I mean, TEDx talks, viral fame, and running a whole center, it's impressive, but almost too polished. Still, if even half of this is true, hats off to you for surviving and thriving. Just hope the healing's real and not just a performance for applause. Throwaway. Here's my question. Am I the bad guy for refusing to invite my brother to my wedding, even though my parents are begging me to reunite the family? I'm getting married in a few months to the love of my life. And instead of just enjoying this time, I'm writing this post out of frustration, mostly because I'm still annoyed about what happened at dinner last night. I, 32 male, have been estranged from my younger brother, Ryan, 29, male, for almost a decade. My parents, mom 61 female, dad 67 male, have never fully accepted that. Now that I'm getting married, they've ramped up the pressure to the point where they've crossed a line in my opinion. I cut my brother off, and I still feel I was justified in doing so, but you can form your own opinion. The story is that I was with Cass, now 31, female, for 5 years. We started dating at 17-ish, and we were serious, the kind of serious where everyone, family, friends, even us, assumed we were headed toward marriage. She was my first everything. We went to different colleges, but we were making it work. I thought we were. She thought that my brother and I were interchangeable. Apparently, Cass ended up going to the same college as Ryan, hours away from me. He was just starting out there, and she was a year ahead of him. I remember thinking how cool it was that my little brother and girlfriend had each other out there. I encouraged it, told him to ask her for help navigating the campus. I didn't think twice about it. I trusted them both. Why on earth wouldn't I? They had a full-blown affair, not a one-time drunken mistake, not a brief lapse in judgment. A full-blown relationship behind my back for 2 years. They lied to me for 2 whole years while pretending to be my support system, attending family holidays and birthdays, and taking pictures with me. They went to my dad's retirement party together while still sleeping with each other behind closed doors. I didn't find out because one of them felt guilty and cracked. Neither my girlfriend nor my little brother cared enough about me for that. Evidently, I found out because one of Ryan's roommates got drunk and let it slip when I was down for Ryan's graduation. I was nice about it too, since I didn't really believe his drunk friend, and I didn't even ask about it until after the ceremony. I asked Cass when we got back to my hotel room. She didn't deny it. Ryan tried to, but Cass had already let the cat out of the bag, so he pivoted to begging for forgiveness real quick. I broke up with Cass and immediately cut Ryan out of my life. As far as I was concerned, there was nothing left to salvage there. Brothers don't do that to each other, so I didn't have a brother. I told my parents, and they were devastated, but unfortunately not for the reasons I expected. Their concern went from me to the fracture in the family lightning fast. They kept asking if I could forgive Ryan. Said he was young and stupid. Asked me to talk it out like brothers do. They even blamed Cass more than him, saying she was older and knew better, which might have worked if he wasn't 20 when it started and 22 when I caught them. That's not a kid. I didn't budge. I told them Ryan was dead to me. If they wanted a relationship with both of us, They'd have to accept that we'd never be in the same room again. Eventually, they did. For a few years, things stayed relatively calm. We had separate family holidays. I stopped going to some events. Ryan and I never spoke again. Then Ryan got married, and that's when my parents started pushing again. They begged me to come. Said he wanted to make amends. I declined. I wasn't interested in fake apologies or half-hearted reunions just because it was convenient for him. I also didn't really feel like celebrating his relationship after what he did to mine. Every so often after that, my parents would bring him up. My mom would slip in, "He's doing really well," or "You two were so close as kids," or "He still asks about you." I told her every single time, "I don't care. I don't forgive him. He is not part of my life." I met Ali, 33, female, 5 years ago. She knew from early on about the situation with my brother, and she never pushed me to heal or make peace. She saw how deep the wound went and never tried to minimize it. We got engaged last year, and I've been so excited to finally have a fresh chapter. But of course, my parents couldn't leave well enough alone. Last night, they came over for dinner. We invited them. I wanted to show them the final plans for the wedding since I haven't really involved them much in the process. They were polite at first, complimenting Ali on the menu, asking about the venue, and acting like everything was fine. While I was in the kitchen, putting the finishing touches on dessert, I heard my mom's voice shift. It had that tone she uses when she's trying to seem casual, but is about to say something she knows she shouldn't. You know the voice older women use. I eavesdropped because it's my house and therefore not eavesdropping, and heard her say something like, "We know OP has been stubborn, but maybe you could talk to him. It's his brother. It would mean so much to us." Straight up trying to emotionally manipulate my fiancé. She then asked if Ali would consider surprising me by inviting Ryan herself. I walked in just in time to see Ali looking visibly uncomfortable and caught off guard. I lost it. Not in a screaming way, but I told them again, for what must have been the 100th time, that Ryan is not welcome at our wedding, and that they had no right to ambush Ali like that. I told them I was tired of having the same conversation, and if they couldn't respect that boundary, they didn't need to be around us right now. I asked them to leave. They left without saying much, and Ali and I sat down afterward. She already knew the basics of what happened with Ryan and Cass, but not the full timeline. I hadn't talked much about the fact that it was 2 years of lies, that Cass had snuck off to his hotel room during family trips after I was asleep, that they had both pretended to be my support system while stabbing me in the back. Ali held my hand while I told her everything. She told me she understood even more now why I couldn't forgive him. I feel like dinner opened up a wound I thought I'd scarred over. Not just the betrayal from Ryan, but the way my parents have always tried to downplay it. Like I'm being dramatic. I've tried to be civil. I've tried to maintain some relationship with them because at the end of the day, they're still my parents. But I'm not going to let them keep minimizing what he did to me. This is my wedding, my start to a new life. I won't have my brother there. I won't let him pretend nothing happened, and I won't let my parents turn this into another chance to force a fake reconciliation. I don't know if that makes me the bad guy, comments. UBXXXXNXX's MXN says, "Wow. I don't even know what to say other than you're absolutely not the bad guy here. What your brother did was the deepest betrayal possible. And your parents need to understand that consequences don't disappear just because time passes. I can't believe they tried to manipulate your fiancé behind your back. That's so out of line. I respect how you've handled this with maturity and a firm boundary. You're not the one tearing the family apart. Ryan did that when he decided sleeping with your girlfriend was worth more than your trust and relationship as brothers. The fact that he carried it on for 2 years is so chilling, and your parents minimizing it just adds insult to injury. I'm so glad you have your fiancée. She sounds amazing, and clearly she has your back. You deserve a peaceful, drama-free wedding surrounded by people who actually care about you and respect your choices. And if your parents can't understand that by now, maybe they need some time to reevaluate their priorities. Blood doesn't give anyone a pass to treat you like garbage. Wet Woo Bait 1. I finally sat down with my parents, and I think it actually got through to them this time. After that dinner where my parents ambushed Allie with their push to invite Ryan, I gave myself a few days to cool down before calling them. I knew if I waited too long, it would fester and grow into something worse. But I also didn't want to talk to them while I was still that angry. When I finally did, I told them I wanted to talk face to face, so we met at their house. It was a hard conversation. I told them in no uncertain terms that Ryan is not welcome at my wedding. Not now. Not at the last minute, not if someone drops out, not as a surprise, and definitely not as a gesture of peace. I reminded them again that this isn't some petty grudge I'm holding on to for fun. It's about trust. It's about betrayal. It's about the fact that Ryan was not just some random guy who made a mistake. He was my brother, and he knowingly destroyed a foundational relationship in my life. I told them that asking me to forgive Ryan is asking me to erase a part of my life that caused me irreparable damage. I lost a partner, a future I thought I was building, and a sibling all at once. And no apology, no family reunion, and no sentimental photo op will fix that. The only thing I've asked for all these years is peace. Peace for me means distance from Ryan. My parents, especially my mom, tried to argue and brought up how people change. They said it would be a shame to look back in 20 years and regret cutting off my brother. Ryan has a family now. He wants to make things right, and I'm being too final. I chose to hold firm. I told them this isn't something that ever gets repaired. And if they keep trying to push him back into my life, they're choosing to prioritize their own desire for a neat family narrative over my very real boundaries. I stole that line directly from the top comment of the last post. Yes, to be clear, I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just explained. I walked them through the emotional toll it took on me. Not just the initial betrayal, but the years of navigating family events, wondering if they were going to sneak Ryan in or bring him up to guilt trip me. I told them how exhausted I am of having to defend myself when I'm the one who was betrayed. When I left, it was tense. My mom looked upset. My dad didn't say much, but his silence usually means he's chewing on something. I didn't know how it would land. I expected more backlash, more manipulation, or another attempt to rope Allie into their scheme. But surprisingly, a few days later, I got a message from my dad. He said they had discussed what I said, and while they still wish things could be different, they don't want to risk their relationship with me over it. He said they'd respect my decision and not bring up Ryan again. To my complete surprise, they've actually stuck to that. It's been over a week now, and there's not been a single mention of him. Admittedly, a week isn't that long a time, but still. My mom hasn't texted me one of her "you know who misses you" messages. No guilt trips, no. He's still your brother. Hints. It's the first time in years I've had a peaceful conversation with them without Ryan hovering like a ghost in the background. I'm cautiously optimistic. I know it might not last forever. My mom especially has a tendency to backpedal once the emotions wear off. But for now, it feels like a weight has been lifted. We'll see how long it stays off. Ollie was proud of me for having the talk. She told me that whatever happens next, she knows I'll handle it. Honestly, I needed to hear that. Because setting and enforcing these boundaries with your own parents is tough. For now, I'm hopeful that we can actually enjoy our wedding without the constant anxiety of someone trying to hijack it. Wedbait 2. He showed up. A lot of you said he would. Should have believed you. We're in Allie's home state now, staying at a small hotel near the vineyard, where we'll be getting married. It's beautiful. The weather is perfect. Our friends and family are flying in. Everything has been coming together exactly the way we hoped, until this afternoon. A little bit ago was our welcome lunch. Nothing fancy, just a casual gathering at the hotel to welcome everyone and run through tomorrow's schedule. Allie and I were in the lobby most of the afternoon greeting everyone as they arrived. It was a really warm and happy atmosphere. We hugged our friends, introduced relatives, and laughed with our cousins whom I'd only met once before. It was finally starting to feel real, and then Ryan showed up. I saw him before he saw me. He walked in with his pregnant wife, Maeve, 20s female, like he was just another guest on the list, laughing, carrying their overnight bags. Smiling like this was just another family reunion. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. I felt it all come rushing back the second I saw his face. He didn't look ashamed. He looked smug, like he belonged there, like he was doing me a favor by showing up. I couldn't say anything. I physically couldn't. Allie saw my face and immediately took my arm and brought me upstairs to our room. Once we were alone, she asked if I wanted her to go downstairs and remove him herself. No fuss, no confrontation. She'd take care of it. She was calm but furious. More for the way it blindsided me than anything else, I think. I told her I needed a moment to think before deciding what to do, but before we could even process it, there was a knock on the door. It was my parents. They looked sheepish, but not like they wouldn't do it again. They told me they invited Ryan. Said they tried to respect my decision, but they just couldn't let me go through this milestone without my brother there. My mom actually said she was doing what she knew I would thank her for in the long run. My dad said something about how one day I'd understand. I couldn't believe it. After everything, after the talk we had, after they finally agreed to respect my boundaries, they didn't just go behind my back. They brought the person I least wanted to see to the most important day of my life and acted like it was some kind of gift. They tried to leave the conversation on a soft note, but I didn't say anything. I couldn't. All I could do was watch them walk out of the room like they hadn't just completely betrayed my trust. And then the final gut punch came later when I checked Instagram. My cousins, some of my old friends, even people from Allie's side, were all posting stories of the welcome lunch. Ryan was right in the middle of them, smiling, hugging people, and clinking glasses. It looked like he'd been there all along. The worst part was knowing that none of them knew what he'd done. They didn't know why I cut him off. They thought it was some weird family falling out or drama that I was too proud to fix. That was always the agreement. I never told anyone outside the immediate family what happened. Not because I was protecting him, but because I didn't want my life to be defined by what he did. I didn't want to carry that story with me forever. I just wanted to forget. I only asked that he stay gone, stay out of my way, and let me move on. But now he's here, and he's acting like I'm the problem, like I'm the one who needs to let go of a grudge. Ali sat next to me while I watched the stories. She didn't say anything for a while. Just let me sit with the anger. Eventually, I looked at her and told her what I decided. If my parents and my brother want to pretend like nothing ever happened, fine. But they don't get to rewrite the story. Not here. Not at my wedding. Not in front of people who love me and only ever heard a watered-down version of the truth. Tonight is the rehearsal dinner. Everyone will be there. So, I've decided it's time they finally hear the full story. Call it dinner and a show Webate 3. The rehearsal dinner was last night. If you've been following this saga, you know I promised it would be dinner and a show. It was. I kept things together throughout the early part of the evening. Ali and I greeted guests, chatted, took photos, accepted hugs, and congratulations. I could feel Ryan across the room laughing too loudly, putting his hands on people's shoulders, charming the ones who didn't know any better. I kept watching Maeve too. She seemed sweet, honestly, a bit reserved but smiling, probably had no idea she was married to a man who blew up his brother's life. That didn't last long. Near the end of the night, I stood to give a toast. People expected something emotional, something heartfelt. I did too, originally, but with everything that had happened, I felt like I had no other choice. I needed to stop letting my brother control the narrative by staying silent. So, I told the truth. I didn't yell. I didn't get dramatic. I spoke plainly. I thanked everyone for coming. I said how grateful we were for their love and support. And then I explained that there had been tension in my family for a long time. Tension that many of them had asked about over the years, but never got a real answer. I told them about how 10 years ago the woman I loved, someone I planned a life with, cheated on me with my younger brother. Not once, not a mistake, a full 2-year affair. I told them how both of them lied to me, how they came to family holidays, birthdays, and posed for photos, all while continuing to sleep with each other behind my back. I told them I cut off my brother after I found out, and I asked only for peace and distance. Yet my parents, for reasons I still can't understand, chose to disregard that one boundary again and again. I told them Ryan was not invited to this wedding, and his presence here was not a reconciliation. It was a violation. The only reason they were seeing him now was because my parents took it upon themselves to override my wishes. You could have heard a pin drop. Then I turned my glass toward Ryan and said, "So if anyone's wondering why we haven't spoken in a decade, that's why." Then I sat back down next to Allie and drank my wine. Maeve looked like someone had smacked her across the face. She turned to Ryan and immediately started whispering in a very pointed, urgent way. She looked horrified. Not confused, but properly horrified. She didn't know. He never told her. Within a few minutes, they both got up from the table. She walked out first, and Ryan followed after her, looking panicked. They didn't come back. The room was rattled. Some people clearly felt uncomfortable. Others came up to me quietly afterward and told me they were sorry. A few old friends from college said it made sense now why I dropped off the radar for a while after the breakup. Even a couple of my cousins said they had always felt weird about how our family handled it, but didn't know the story. My parents didn't say much to me the rest of the night. They looked completely shaken. I think they honestly believed I'd never say it out loud, that I'd keep swallowing it for the sake of appearances. They were wrong. Allie told me she was proud of me. She knew how much I'd wrestled with whether it would ruin the night or taint the wedding. But she said it didn't matter because the truth is never the thing that ruins a relationship. The lies are. She was right. After the initial shock wore off, the party picked back up. Our friends rallied and made sure we ended the night with laughter, music, and love. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. It's 2:00 in the morning now. I meant to just check my phone, but instead I'm typing this up. This afternoon is the wedding. Ryan's not here. Maeve isn't either. My parents were subdued last I saw them, but I don't care anymore. I'm not doing this for them. I'm marrying the love of my life today. I'm walking into my future without lies, secrets, or dead weight dragging behind me. No regrets. Wet will 8-4. We're back from our honeymoon now. It was everything we needed. Quiet, peaceful, full of laughter, long walks, late mornings, and no drama. Just Allie and me finally breathing after everything that happened. But as expected, coming home meant dealing with the aftermath of the rehearsal dinner. The truth spread fast. I didn't post about it. I didn't feel the need to explain myself further, but other people did. Word got out about what Ryan had done, and the story traveled back to his side of the world, his friends, his in-laws, and his colleagues. Apparently, Maeve didn't just walk away from the rehearsal dinner. She packed up and flew home early the next morning. She moved in with her sister while figuring out what comes next. A mutual friend told me she'd already contacted a divorce lawyer. I'm not happy about it. I didn't tell the truth to ruin her life, but she deserved to know what kind of man she married. She deserved to know who she was bringing a child into the world with. Ryan made that bed. All I did was flip the light switch on. My parents didn't take it well. My mom in particular was relentless, calling and texting me, crying, begging me to apologize to Ryan for humiliating him and ruining his life. She refused to understand that the only reason things went public is that they went behind my back and brought him to the wedding. I gave them 10 years of silence. They broke that agreement. Eventually, she said she just wants us all to go back to normal. And that's when I realized I couldn't do this anymore. So, I cut them off. I didn't make another big scene or some dramatic final message. I just stopped responding. I talked with Ali, and we agreed we're not carrying this forward into our marriage. If my parents ever want to be part of my life again, they'll have to come to the table with actual accountability and change. Until then, we're done. It hurts, but honestly, it also feels like relief. For years, I tried to maintain a relationship with people who refused to see the damage that was done. Now, I don't have to anymore. I have a new life with Ali, one built on truth, not silence. I walked away from that wedding with no regrets, and I'm not looking back. Comments. You Fantastic Pony says, you did the right thing 1,000 times over. You did the right thing. Your brother destroyed your trust, your relationship, and your family bond. And instead of owning up to it, he tried to rewrite history. Your parents failed you by enabling that and continuously dismissing your pain. You gave them a decade of grace, a decade. You let him live without consequences for the sake of keeping peace, and they still weren't satisfied. So you stood up for yourself and told the truth. And guess what? The truth always wins. You didn't ruin anything. Ryan ruined his marriage by lying to his wife. Your parents ruined their relationship with you by prioritizing their comfort over your healing. You just stopped letting them play pretend. That's not cruelty. It's clarity. You've earned that clarity. Your wedding was your line in the sand, and it was powerful watching you claim that moment on your own terms. Grief has a funny way of shaping you. Sometimes it softens your edges. Other times it sharpens them into blades you didn't know you were capable of carrying. The man on my front lawn last night, screaming my name like we were just a few years and a couple of heart-to-hearts behind on our relationship, was not my father. Not the one who raised me. Not the one my mom fell in love with. And definitely not the one who stood there when I was 21, eyes raw from crying, and whispered a final goodbye to my mother while he calculated his wedding date to the woman he'd been emotionally cheating with for years. He wants a reunion now, but I think he forgot that bridges burn fast when you douse them in gasoline and light a match. Let's rewind. I am Tanner, age 27. But this story begins when I thought I only had a mom, despite my father being alive. My mom, Evelyn, was the kind of gentle woman that made you feel like everything might be okay, even when it clearly wasn't. She gave the best hugs, warm, tight, with this little rock back and forth motion that made you feel 5 years old again, safe and invincible. She was the only source of light in a house that got dimmer by the year. Mark, my father, was a man who knew how to be in a room without ever being in it. My earliest memories of him are of him not being there, or when he was, his presence felt like an obligation, not affection. He was ambitious, sure, had this polished, impressive architect vibe going on that made him look like the kind of guy who had it all together. But the truth was, he was an emotional black hole, present but distant, watching but never really seeing us. He checked out long before Mom got sick. I remember dinners where Mom would try to ask him about his day and he'd just mutter something about a deadline. Eye contact? Rare. Affection? Absent. He had his little colleague, Elaine, who somehow always managed to call after 10 p.m. like it was just good timing and not a dead giveaway. Mom never confronted him. She just endured. She clung to the version of him she fell in love with, even as that man disappeared right in front of her eyes. Then came the cancer. Ovarian, stage 3. By the time we found it, I was 19. Suddenly, my world was a revolving door of specialists, IV poles, chemo chairs, and whispered prayers. My dad went from absentee to occasional visitor. He'd show up at the hospital in those crisp, wrinkle-free shirts and ask the doctors all these surface-level questions like he was reading off a checklist. Then he'd say he had to be back at the office and disappear. It was her and me. Always her and me. I became her nurse, her cook, her driver, her support system. I'd sit next to her, reading old letters she had saved from when she and Mark were in college, dating, watching her eyes light up at memories that didn't hurt yet. One night, when the pain meds weren't cutting it and she was shaking from the inside out, she reached for my hand and whispered, "Don't let him make you hard, Tanner. Your heart is good. It's like mine." That's the last thing she ever said to me. She died a week later, and just like that, the show started. Mark did the whole somber widower act at the funeral. Wore the right tie, gave the right speech, shook the right hands. I stood there barely holding it together, wondering if anyone else could see that the man standing next to her casket wasn't mourning. He was waiting. Waiting for it to be over. Waiting to start over. 3 months later, I saw the wedding photos on Facebook. He and Elaine, all smiles and champagne. No shame, no pause, just replacement. I wasn't informed either, and with Elaine came her son, Lyle. Lyle was the kind of guy who peaked in high school and refused to let it go. Tall, smug, the kind of smile that made you want to punch it, and then apologize just so he'd shut up. A college dropout with a talent for mooching, and somehow Mark adored him. He moved into my old room, claimed the view was better. I was banished to the guest room like some temporary tenant. I wish I were exaggerating when I say he started acting like I didn't exist. He'd cook dinner and only call Elaine and Lyle to the table, like I was a ghost. They were just tolerating me until I passed through a wall and disappeared completely. Christmas that year, Lyle got a PlayStation 5, Gucci sneakers, and a huge check. I got cologne from all of us, and the erasing didn't stop there. The photos of Mom slowly vanished. First from the living room, then the hallway. Her garden, Elaine bulldozed it to make room for a Zen rock garden. My mom's roses, her pride, her therapy, were just gone, torn up like weeds. That was the moment something inside me broke. I packed a bag, grabbed the only photos of Mom I could find, and left without a word. Mark didn't notice. Or maybe he didn't care if I was there or went missing. I crashed at my friend Jasmine's, then moved in with Carlos, who was a stranger to me then, but now he is my best bud. He wanted a roommate, since the previous one had dropped out unannounced, and I needed a home. Jasmine and Carlos became my people, and together the three of us bought this run-down house nobody wanted. Rotting floors, holes in the walls, and mold in the ceilings. But it was ours. We rebuilt that house with our bare hands. Every plank, every wire, every gallon of paint was like reclaiming my place in the world. I made a home where I wasn't an afterthought. In those 6 years, I graduated, secured a scholarship, worked part-time, worked hard, landed a solid job as an industrial designer, and built a life where I didn't have to shrink to fit anyone's expectations. I created a world where my mother's voice still echoed, kind, strong, and full of love. Then last month Mark showed up. Turns out Elaine bounced. Lyall got shipped off overseas and wanted nothing to do with him. And now suddenly Mark remembers he has a son. The voicemail started off casual. Hey, just checking in. Then they got more desperate. I miss you. You're still my son. We're family. He even had the audacity to show up at my office with coffee like we were old buddies catching up. Don't ask me how, but he got my friends' numbers. He messaged Jasmine, then Carlos, told them he was worried about me, that he just wanted to talk, like he didn't bury me in silence for 6 long years. And last night, he showed up on my lawn, yelling like some ex-boyfriend who realized he lost a good thing, telling me he's sorry, that he's lonely, that he misses me. I didn't even go to the door. I watched from the upstairs window, arms crossed, heart like stone. I saw the man who let my mom die feeling unloved, the man who made me invisible in my own home, the man who celebrated a new life before the soil on my mother's grave had settled. And I felt nothing. Not hate, not sadness, just a cold, clean absence. I don't owe him a thing. But there's this tiny, persistent voice inside me. The little boy who once waited at the window with a coloring book, hoping his dad would come home early. That kid still wonders if maybe, just maybe, there's something to salvage. But the man he became, he knows better. So, Reddit, am I the bad guy for not even answering the door? For not giving this man a second of my time, even when he's standing there crying about being alone? Because honestly, I didn't ask him to leave me behind. But now that he wants back in, he's not knocking on the door of the son he left. He's begging a stranger. And I think I'm okay leaving it that way. Comments, Anonymous says, wow, OP, your story hit hard. Can't lie, your dad sounds like a grade A narcissist who only came back when his fantasy life crumbled. I get why you're shutting him out, 100%. But a small part of me wonders, maybe one conversation, not for his sake, but for yours, just to close that door for good. Either way, you've built something amazing out of all that pain. Proud of you, man. Just don't let his mess harden what's left of your heart. Wait, one month later. There's something weirdly poetic about watching the man who ghosted me spiral into a haunted mess of his own making. Like karma picked up a pen, scribbled out a tragic comedy, and cast him as the fool clinging to curtains he set on fire himself. And now he's trying to drape them over my life. The last time I posted, a month ago, I thought I'd reached the end of this saga. Felt like the final nail had been hammered, the door sealed. But apparently my father's reconciliation tour didn't get the memo. He's still out here parading around like he deserves a comeback, like this is his redemption arc. I swear, if I saw a camera crew hiding in the bushes, I wouldn't be surprised. The man cornered me in a parking garage. A parking garage. I was walking to my car after work, earbuds in, brain fried, and there he was, just there, like some sad imitation of a memory I've worked years to erase. It's something for you, he said, holding out an old photo of us from when he carried me for the first and last time in his arms, like it was supposed to undo 6 years of silence. I didn't even look at him. I just kept walking, got in my car, and left him standing there like a washed-up extra who missed his cue. I'll admit it, a part of me felt satisfied watching him crumble a little. That might make me sound cruel, but I've spent the better part of my 20s rebuilding a life he torched with a smile and a shrug, so, yeah. Watching him fumble and fall apart in real time, it stirred something dark and vindicated in me. And just when I thought that was his final move, he leveled up. Last Friday night, I was in my kitchen with Carlos and Jasmine. We were making tacos, vibing to old school Paramore, and just laughing. Felt like home. Then my phone lit up. 7 texts from my neighbors all at once. I froze, walked to the front window, and yeah, of course, there he was. Mark, my father, planted on my lawn. Drunk, stumbling, yelling my name like he expected a hug to come flying out the front door. He's drunk, Carlos muttered. You want me to go handle it? No, I said, because this was mine. Mark wasn't angry. He wasn't shouting insults or threats. That would have been easier. He was broken, crying, begging, slurring about how he made mistakes, how Elaine never really understood him, how Lyle was ungrateful. And of course, he tossed out the golden line. I just want my family back. My family, the one he steamrolled and rebuilt from scratch with new people and new photos and a new son, the one he buried my mother under. But before I could even open the door, say a word, Mrs. Liu came out. Now, if you've never met Mrs. Liu, let me give you some background. She's a tiny 60-something Chinese-American firecracker. She was one of my mom's closest friends, who moved into our neighborhood a year after we moved here. Knows everything. She used to be our neighbor when I was little. She saw everything. She watched me grow up from across the street. I used to think she was just this sweet little lady who gave out the best Halloween candy. But that night, she was a force. She walked straight up to Mark, didn't raise her voice, just said something low. I couldn't hear it, but I saw it hit him. His body just sagged like someone let the air out. He whispered something back, probably an apology, and walked off into the night like a man who had nowhere left to go. She came over after, dumplings in hand. She always brings dumplings when things hit the fan. We sat on my porch, me in shock, her sipping her jasmine tea like it was just another Friday. And then she hit me with this. Tanner, your father doesn't look like a man filled with regret. He looks like a man without roots. He's not trying to fix what he broke. He's just trying to find soil to plant himself in again. And yours looks fertile. That line has been living rent-free in my skull ever since. He's not here because he misses me. He's here because the house of cards he built with Elaine and Lyle collapsed, and he needs a new foundation. He's not mourning what he lost. He's just looking for shelter. But even that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came from Jasmine 2 weeks ago. See, Jasmine's got a gift. She's a software engineer by trade, but in another life, she'd be a bloodhound. She got that look after the drunk lawn scene, the digging look. And boy, did she dig. She told me, men like Mark don't unravel for no reason. They unravel when the net disappears. And guess what she found? My mom, Evelyn, had this stunning collection of antique jewelry, generational stuff. Her grandmother's sapphire ring, Art Deco bracelets, pearls from her own wedding day. In her will, she left it all to me with a note. I remember that note, she said. I hope one day you'll give this to someone who loves you the way I loved you. I never saw a single piece of it. After the funeral, I asked Mark about it. He brushed it off. Said it was in a vault somewhere. Too soon to deal with it, he told me. And I was too numb, too broken, too lost to push. Well, Jasmine found the truth. Auction records 4 years ago. He sold it. Every piece. And the kicker, the money didn't go into a trust or college savings or anything remotely resembling something that had my name on it. The money went straight to Lyle, direct bank transfers. And Lyle used it all to fund one failed startup after another. Dropshipping scams, NFTs, a line of artisanal dog treats. You can't make this up. All of it gone. He didn't just erase my mom, he cashed her in. He took the last tangible pieces of her, of our life, and pawned them off so his golden child could pretend to be a visionary. Then he had the nerve to cry on my lawn like I'm the thing he's lost. So now I'm not numb. I'm not cold. I'm sharp. He robbed me of her, of everything she left behind, and I don't think I can forgive that. Honestly, I don't even think I should. Reddit, I've done the ghosting. I've stayed silent. But I'm tired of being the one who disappears while he gets to rewrite the story. I'm not a ghost anymore. So, Here's my new question. How do I haunt him? Because I want him to feel me in every shadow of his new, empty life. What beat 2? 1 week later, this week has been long and loud and deeply, soul-twistingly chaotic. First, I did something impulsive. Okay, nuclear. And now I'm just sitting in the blast zone, wondering if I torched the right man or just lit myself on fire. It started with the jewelry, the stuff Jasmine found in those auction listings. The locket, the rings, the heirlooms. Things passed down from my mom's side for generations. Things meant for me. My mother, Evelyn, made that choice. She left them to me in her will. She said she hoped I'd give them to someone I loved one day. Instead, my father sold them to fund Lial's parade of failed startups. Antique pearls for a dropshipping scam. A sapphire ring for artisanal dog treats. Generational legacy gone so his golden boy could burn through dreams that wouldn't last 6 months. I sat at my desk staring at those auction listings, rage crawling up my spine like fire ants. My grief, my silence, the neat little life I'd patched together, none of it could hold that weight anymore. The man who stood on my lawn sobbing about family sold our family's history like it was junk from a garage sale. So I did what any rational adult, totally not spiraling, would do. One comment on my last post lit a match in my head. Don't just hurt his wallet, hurt his pride. Men like your father live and die by their public image. That line lived rent-free in my brain for days because it's true. Mark's entire identity revolves around being that guy. The alumni guy, the reunion guy, the can you believe how well he's done guy? The guy who knows how to treat his love like a princess. Mark has always been obsessed with his reputation, especially among his old high school and college peers. He's the treasurer of the Alumni Association, the guy who organizes the reunions. His identity is deeply rooted in being seen as the successful, respectable Mark Blackwood, the man who had it all. He basks in it. He curates it. So, I gave him an obituary, but not the kind you send to a funeral home. I wrote it as a piece for our old high school's alumni magazine, a creative tribute written under a pseudonym, designed to sting, not accuse. I titled it, In Loving Memory of the Man He Used to Be. It read like a eulogy, a poetic reflection on how the bright, ambitious Mark Blackwood had quietly died the day his wife Evelyn passed. I didn't need to say he was literally dead. The metaphor did all the work. I painted a picture of a man consumed by his own delusions, a legacy defined by abandonment masked as ambition. I didn't drop names, no Elaine, no Lyle, but I didn't need to. Anyone who knew him would connect the dots. I closed it with, he is survived by a son who rebuilt his life from the ashes. And they published it in the editorial column, right there next to a note about upcoming reunion dates and a glowing write-up on the varsity tennis team. The reaction, absolute chaos. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Relatives I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly remembered I existed. Some offered quiet support. But mostly horror, outrage. How could I write something so cruel? Did I realize how much I'd hurt my father? One great aunt actually said, "Your mother would be ashamed of you." Yeah, that one cut deep. But here's the real kicker. I forgot who I was dealing with. Mark Blackwood doesn't retreat when exposed. He pivots. He performs. He thrives in damage control. He took that article to Sunday church. Yes, the same place where most of his college alumni and even some of our relatives go, and gave the performance of a lifetime. Tears in his eyes, newspaper clutched in his trembling hands, voice cracking as he spoke about his troubled son who was grieving and lashing out in confusion and pain even after a decade since his mother's death. He didn't deny what I wrote, not once. He just reframed it. Suddenly, I was the unstable one, the poor fragile boy who never healed, the damaged soul he was trying to reach. My silence a cry for help, my fury a symptom, my truth evidence of my unraveling mind, and people bought it. The same people who watched him lie, manipulate, vanish. They bought it. I'm getting calls now, but they sound different, softer, pitying. They're suggesting therapy, telling me it's not too late to reconnect, acting like I'm the one who needs fixing. Mrs. Liu called me last night, and she sounded tired in a way I've never heard before. He is turning your truth into a weapon, she said. He's painting you as the crazy one, so no one will question him. This is a war of stories, Tanner, and you just gave him the moral high ground. She's not wrong. I thought I was delivering the final blow, but I just gave him the script he needed. He didn't hide from the article. He used it, wore it like armor, turned it into a plea for sympathy, and played the role of Father of the Year to a town that loves a redemption story. Carlos says I should let it go, that truth has a way of surfacing. Jasmine, of course, is already in strategy mode. She's talking about podcasts and long-form blogs and exposing the financial trail. But what's the point? I made my move, and he twisted it into a mirror that reflects every bad thing back onto me. Now I'm sitting here wondering if I just handed him a new mask to wear for the rest of his life. Did I go too far? Or did I finally say what needed to be said, just in the wrong way? Update 3. 3 months later. 3 months. That's how long it's been since I nuked my non-existent relationship with my dad in the most public, scorched earth way possible. Since then, silence. No Reddit updates, no more newspaper columns, no big dramatic gestures. I didn't retreat because I was defeated. I was preparing. And honestly, it's been satisfying. After the obituary fiasco blew up in my face, my father parading around town like some broken-hearted martyr, while I got painted as the mentally unstable son, I went quiet. Let him enjoy the attention. Let the fog settle, the whispers spread, the pity roll in. Let him win, just for a minute, because I wasn't hiding. I was building. Zmazman called it war room mode. And that's exactly what it was. Carlos, Jasmine, and I hunkered down like generals planning something smarter, cleaner, less emotional, more tactical. Jasmine's been saying it for months. Data doesn't have an opinion, and that's what we needed. Not more emotion, not more editorials, just proof. So she started digging, and I mean digging. County records, probate court filings, old online databases with interfaces from the 90s. She used her coding skills to crawl through every document related to my mother's estate. Because if my dad was shady enough to sell off her jewelry, we figured he probably hadn't stopped there. Turns out, we were right. Buried in some ancient digital filing cabinet in the county clerk's portal was the smoking gun. My mother's original will, full and unredacted. The version my father showed me years ago was missing something. A sealed addendum. One that was only supposed to be opened by me. He never told me about it, never even hinted it existed. My mother, wise to the man she married, had left a clause. The house, her house, the one she inherited from her parents, and made sure was only in her name. She willed it to me, but with a condition. I had to be living in it by my 30th birthday, or it would automatically revert to her next of kin. That meant him. I'm 27. I turn 28 soon. So yeah, all this drama just for me to stay there with him for 3 years until he kicks me out again. 3 more years and the house was his. Clean, legal, no questions asked. Meanwhile, he was renting it out like it was some passive income side hustle. No plans to tell me, just sitting there counting down the days, smiling at church while conning his own son out of his childhood home. So, we set a trap, not a lawsuit. Too messy, too easy for him to twist into more my son's unwell propaganda. Instead, Jasmine pulled some favors and found us a small law firm hungry for a fight and a real estate agent with a flexible moral compass. We formed an LLC, boring name, out-of-state registration, paper trail so clean you could eat off it. And through that LLC, we made him an all-cash offer on the house. He took the bait. Of course he did. Elaine's gone, Lyle's latest startup is toast, and the guy's hemorrhaging money left and right. He probably thought a developer was trying to buy it, maybe planning to knock it down and throw up some ugly condos. All he saw was a check. He barely negotiated. He was desperate. Yesterday we closed. It was at this sterile law office downtown. Mark was there, smug as anything. I swear, the man looked like he'd just won the lottery. He probably thought he outplayed some hotshot investor. When everything was signed and the funds were wired, our lawyer looked at him and said, "Mr. Blackwood, the new owner would like to come in and introduce himself." Mark blinked, confused. Then I walked in. And man, the look on his face. I wish I could bottle that moment. First confusion, then the slow dawning horror that crawled across his face like rot. And then rage. Red, shaking, incoherent rage. He jumped to his feet, yelling that I tricked him, that this was illegal. Our lawyer didn't flinch, just calmly explained that the sale was perfectly legal. No laws broken. He sold the house to a legitimate buyer, most accurately, the real heir. End of story. I didn't say a word to him. I turned to the young couple who had been living there, and handed them a formal eviction notice. 60 days to vacate, well over the legal requirement, and a check to help cover their deposit and first month's rent somewhere else. I figured they were just random tenants. But then the woman started crying. Said they couldn't move that fast. She was pregnant. Told me Mark had promised they could stay for years, help get set up for the baby. Of course he did. Jasmine found her social media later. She's Lyle's ex from high school. My dad was using my house to play grandpa to the golden boy's potential heir. That's when he snapped. He lunged at me, screaming, furious. His lawyer physically had to hold him back while security rushed in. Then he just crumbled right there in the hallway, sat down in a pathetic heap like the world had just ended. And I walked past him. Didn't even look back. That house is mine now. Not because I screamed the loudest, not because I made the best speech, but because I outplayed him. It's the house my mother wanted me to have. The house she protected with her last breath. Because deep down, she knew exactly who he was. I stood on that porch last night, holding the keys in my hand. The same porch where I used to wait for her to come home from chemo, and just breathed. Her pictures are still gone. Her memory was erased by him. But the house, that's mine again. The war of stories is over. No more op-eds, no more whispers. Now I've got the deed. And trust me, this story is just getting started. What bait for? Well, my dad thought that my taking back the house was the end game. Newsflash, it was just the opening move. The last 3 weeks have been wild. Taking back Mom's house wasn't about petty revenge, at least not entirely. It was about reclaiming what was hers and what was mine. But I wasn't stopping at bricks and mortar. I wanted the whole story back, every piece of it. First, I had to clear the house of his tenants, Lyall's pregnant girlfriend and her partner. Look, I'm not heartless. My lawyer handed them a cashier's check that would cover moving expenses and several months of rent somewhere better than my childhood home. We included a list of apartments, too. Business, not blood feud. Then the real work started. I didn't move in. Nope. Instead, I put up a sign out front. The Evelyn House, future home for children in transition. I'm turning my mom's house into a nonprofit shelter for kids who've been neglected or abused. Kids like I was. The irony, it's thick enough to cut with a knife. The house my dad let rot to erase Mom's memory is now a sanctuary in her honor. But it didn't stop there. Mom was a writer. She kept journals, poetry, reflections, heartache, all stored in the attic where Dad never bothered to look. They paint a painfully clear picture of their marriage's slow decay, his distance, his betrayals. No bitterness, just raw, aching sadness, thanks to Mrs. Liu, who also happens to be a retired librarian with serious connections. I found a local publisher. Mom's journals were edited and published as Orbiting a Different Star. It's a slim book, but it hits like a hammer. Her voice finally speaks for itself. The myth of Mark Blackwood, grieving husband and pillar of the community, started crumbling as readers soaked in her honest, tender words. The book took off locally, becoming a bestseller almost overnight. Book clubs are obsessed, and the fallout fast and furious. Jasmine sent an anonymous formal complaint to the school board, where Dad worked as an administrator, attaching the book and all the legal receipts, documents proving his attempts to steal my inheritance and mismanage funds, including that lien on the house. They launched an investigation. Suddenly, Mark was forced into early retirement, way less cushy than he had planned. His pension got slashed, his precious reputation torn to shreds. Then, just when I thought the story couldn't flip more, Elaine, the stepmom I hadn't heard from in 6 years, reached out. She emailed me after reading Mom's book, said it made her own experience click into place. Then she dropped a bombshell statement to the same local paper that ran my obituary stunt. She publicly sided with me, her former stepson, saying she left Mark not just because of emotional neglect, but his unhealthy, obsessive need to replace grief with a fantasy life. She confirmed he funneled everything into Lyall, leaving nothing for their marriage. The queen had checkmated the king. The narrative flipped hard. I'm no longer the troubled son. I'm the one building something beautiful in honor of my mom. The community is behind the Evelyn house. Donations are flooding in. I thought this would be the end, but one loose thread remained. Lyall. He sent me one threatening email from his military account. full of misspelled tough guy threats, telling me to leave his dad alone and that I'd regret messing with his family. I scoffed so hard. My dad, his family? I didn't reply, just forwarded it anonymously to Navy HR, noting the unbecoming conduct. Word is he got officially reprimanded and is now under serious watch. Golden Boy is finally facing consequences. So, here we are. Dad's lost his house, his job, his reputation, his wife, and the pedestal he put Lial on is cracking. I took apart everything he built his false life on, and all I had to do was tell the truth. My mom's truth. What's next? Evelyn House opens next month, and I've got one last move. One final piece of his legacy to erase from my own. Final update. It's been 2 months since I last checked in. Honestly, I wasn't sure I'd ever be writing again after everything that went down. But here I am, sitting in this tiny office I set up in the back of the Evelyn house. The walls are this calm, hopeful blue. Nothing like the storm I've been through. Through the window, Carlos is out there in the garden planting Mom's favorite flowers. It feels right, like home. We had the grand opening last month on a sunny Saturday. The whole community showed up. Jasmine and Carlos are co-directors with me now. Our little trio from that broken family running something that actually helps people. It was Jasmine's idea to have Mrs. Liu cut the ribbon. That tiny, fierce woman who watched over me my whole life stood there smiling as she snipped the red ribbon. Honestly, it nearly broke me. Full circle, you know. Dad was there too, but not with the crowd. He just stood across the street under a tree, watching everything. Looked smaller, somehow. A man in a rumpled coat standing in the light rain that started falling as things wrapped up. When people started mingling, he crossed the street and came to the edge of the property. Just stood there waiting. Carlos spotted him and moved to step in, but I shook my head. I needed to handle this, so I walked over. Dad looked awful. Gaunt face, hollow eyes. He opened his mouth, voice rough. "Tanner, can we just talk?" I looked at the man who'd caused so much pain, sold my mother's memories, and tried to steal my future. And honestly, I felt nothing. No anger, no pity. Just this vast, quiet emptiness where a father was supposed to be. "There's nothing to talk about," I said flatly. "Your name's not on anything here." I turned and walked back to the warmth and laughter inside. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. That image of him standing alone in the rain, that's the final frame of that chapter. The last step was quieter than I expected. A sterile courthouse office, a judge, a few signatures. I legally changed my name. Dropped the last name that tied me to years of neglect and lies. I'm Tanner Ellis now. Ellis, Mom's maiden name. A name tied to strength, quiet resilience, poetry-filled journals, and a woman whose story finally gets told. Mark Blackwood, he's a ghost now. Just a footnote in a story that isn't about him anymore. Lyle's dealing with the Navy. Elaine's doing well from what I hear. Me? I'm running a home for kids who need a safe place, surrounded by love that's real and earned. I'm the son of Evelyn Ellis, and honestly, I'm just getting started. Comments. Anonymous says, "Hey, OP, seriously, what you've done is incredible. Taking back your mom's legacy and turning that house into something that helps kids who need it most, that's pure strength and heart right there. It's not easy facing someone who hurt you so deeply and coming out on top, but you did it with class and courage. Changing your name to honor your mom was powerful. You're building something real and beautiful. Keep doing you, man. The future looks bright. It's very true. My wedding is going to be child-free. So imagine when I tell my fully grown brother. By the way, my brother has a really good paying job, so he can pay for a babysitter, but he wants to go out of his way and make a huge deal about it. Oh, we can't have our baby sit with some babysitter we don't know. I'm going to bring my kid anyways. Well, I told him if he does that, security is not going to let him in anyways. What he proceeded to do was absolutely lose his mind. Guys, I'm going to tell you the short end of it before we dive into this story. He ran his car through the venue. That's right. Got inside of a vehicle and drove it straight through the venue, and you won't believe what happened after that. When it comes to my brother, rules are not meant to be followed. Instead, they're there to bend and twist as he sees fit. This describes my brother in a nutshell. He's done that my whole darn life. The precious golden child could never have any consequences. Oh no, he had to scream until he got his way. I hate it, and I'm frankly sick of it. It's reached the tipping point right now because I'm about to have my wedding. Yes, please congratulate me in the comments. I would love it, because my family is more focused on treating my brother like a baby than congratulating their only daughter on her wedding. Great, isn't it? Well, anyways, I met my husband about 4 years ago. He proposed, I said yes, and now we're getting married. The thing about my wedding is that I'm not having children at the wedding. There's nothing wrong with children. I mean, I love children. I just think it's not for me. I decided a long time ago that I was not going to have children because they are just not for me. Frankly, I want to have a life where I'm living for me, and I want to be able to travel on a whim, sleep in on weekends, and not have to base every decision on a tiny person who depends on me for everything. I respect people who want kids, I really do, but I also respect myself enough to know it's not the life I want. So for my wedding, I made one simple rule: no kids allowed. I thought that was responsible and reasonable. It's an evening wedding, it's going to have an open bar, and I just wanted a relaxed adult atmosphere. But of course, my brother had to make it about him again. You see, my brother has a temper, and instead of just accepting the rule like a normal functioning adult and finding a babysitter for the day, he threw a tantrum. I mean, like a full-on screaming, red-in-the-face tantrum. He called me selfish, accused me of hating children, and even went as far as to say I was excluding his children on purpose. Oh, no, I'm not excluding his children on purpose. The fact is, I'm excluding all children on purpose because I don't want any of them at my wedding. And the best part, my parents are backing him up because of course they are. He's just sensitive, my mother said, as if that somehow makes it my problem. You know how sensitive he is. Yeah, I do, and that's exactly why I'm not budging. The man's 36 years old, acting like a mad child. Honestly, it's embarrassing for my sister-in-law. What did she see in him? I have no idea why she ever fell for him. He must have been like one of those guys who pretended to be something else, and then changed, once he was sure that he had her locked in. It's not like I didn't warn her. I did warn my sister-in-law, but she was in love, and someone in love knows all, don't they? I'm getting off topic here. Let me get back to the point of this. I don't want kids, and I don't want kids at my wedding. My nieces and nephews are amazing. They're some of the best kids in the world and adore me, but I don't want them at my wedding. Honestly, they're going to be very bored and tired, not to mention one of them is still a baby. Why would I want a crying, screaming baby at my wedding? I'd be crazy to want that, unless I'm a glutton for punishment, which I'm not. It's not like I have a problem with kids in general. I'm not some sort of monster who hates little ones. I just want a peaceful, enjoyable day with my friends and family without having to worry about a toddler throwing a tantrum in the middle of my vows. My parents say that they're going to attend my wedding privately, but publicly they're pretending to stand by my brother. Because the big man, a baby, needs to have his mommy and daddy by his side. It's honestly pathetic that they're acting like he's the wounded soul in this whole scenario, when he's the one creating drama over something completely reasonable. At some point, don't you think that they should cut the cord? Let me say again that this man is 36 years old, but they're still treating him like a toddler. So right now, my brother is threatening to come to the wedding anyways, even though I made it clear I'll even pay for a babysitter. Yes, I offered to pay for a babysitter for him and his kids, and he and his wife could come, have fun, and not have to worry about the kids. I even offered to pay for a babysitter for the entire night, but no, my brother takes this as a challenge. If he can't get what he wants, then he has to make it all of our problem. The main point of this is that I need to know whether I'm crazy or not. Do you guys think that? Am I the bad guy for threatening to hire bouncers to stop my brother and his family from crashing the wedding? Everybody on my side of the family, well, mostly my parents and brother, are saying that I'm the bad guy. Meanwhile, on my husband's side, they're saying that I'm not the bad guy. It's making me experience whiplash right now. One person is saying one thing, while the other person is saying another. I think I know deep down that I'm not the bad guy, but I want to reach out to people who are not involved with the situation to see what they think. Please, guys, leave your comments below. I don't care if they're negative, positive, or just want to laugh at my family's expense. I just need to get some perspective on the situation. Wet Blade 1. Shocker, my brother shows up at the wedding, not once but twice. Yeah, I'm shocked, I'm telling you. This update, the point of my original post was not because I needed advice really, but because I needed validation. People kept telling me I was a terrible sister for not letting my brother and his kids come. Why wouldn't I make an exception for my brother? After all, he's always been there for me. Which is, in fact, my brother has never been there for me, unless you consider making my life a living hell to count as being there for me. He's a bad brother, which I'm pretty sure I made clear in the first post I made, but anyways, let's get to the update. My brother showed up at the wedding. I already had bouncers there because I knew that he was going to try to make the one day about him. I happened to be in the back trying to get ready, but I heard my brother shouting from the back. He was screaming that his wife and 3 kids were in the car, saying that he deserved to see his baby sister get married, that all his kids wanted was to see their precious auntie get married. I rolled my eyes so hard. I thought they were going to roll right back in my head. It was crazy. The bouncers refused to let him in because that was what we were paying them for. They told my brother that under no circumstances is he getting into the venue, so he could hop in his car, turn right back around, and head home. If he wanted to attend the wedding party with his wife, then all he had to do was leave the kids with a babysitter, because this was a child-free wedding. My brother didn't have that, of course, so he hopped in his car, backed up, and then he drove toward the venue. He tried to drive directly through it. Yes, he tried to drive through the actual venue. I heard the crash from where I was getting ready, and my maid of honor told me to stay, and that she would go out and see what the fuss was about. Don't worry, those of you clutching your electronic devices right now, my brother did not crash into the venue and hurt anyone, but he certainly did try. Instead of crashing into the venue, my brother hit a hydrant and was forced to call a tow truck. My wedding still went off without a hitch, though. I walked down the aisle, forgetting the chaos my brother was trying to bring, and married my husband. By the time we were ready to head across town to where we were having the after party, my brother was gone, and so was his car. What was left? Well, the water and the broken hydrant. I'm pretty sure that it's going to end up with him getting some kind of ticket on top of everything else that he's going through. Yes, for those of you thinking this is over, sit tight, because it's not. My brother decided he could not let any of this stand. He went as far as to take an Uber or Lyft or whatever to where we were having the wedding party. Somehow he managed to get back into the place. I realized he was there when I heard screaming. My brother was coming right towards me, and it became clear that he was going to hurt me. I felt myself about to have a panic attack, until my husband, oh, my hubby being the amazing man he is, stepped in. He shoved my brother out of the way, and my thick-headed brother took this as a challenge, so he shoved my husband back. But my husband is a trained fighter. He landed a couple of quick punches, sending my brother falling into the pool. Everybody was laughing, and those who were not laughing were busy taking pictures. My mother started crying while my dad was shouting at me to help my brother out of the pool. I did not because he did it himself. My brother slunk up out of that water, shouting that he was going to get back at me if it was the last thing he ever did. Who does my brother think he is? The Godfather. Update 2. A video somebody took at the wedding is going viral, and my brother is mad. Well, my brother's wedding meltdown is officially internet famous. He's losing it. Somebody at the wedding caught the exact moment that he got punched and fell into the pool, and now it's viral, like full-blown meme status viral. People have slowed it down, added dramatic music, and turned it into a full-on comedy. One version has the Titanic theme playing as he sinks into the water, another has a Street Fighter KO sound effect as he goes down, and you want to know my personal favorite? Somebody edited in a WWE announcer yelling, "Oh my gosh, he's going down." I can't lie, it's hilarious. I mean, I spent a long time laughing about it, unable to believe this was happening. My brother deserves it. He had this coming. And for those of you wondering how he is, well, I can tell you that he's not doing well. I'm doing great, as you can see, But my brother, not so much. He's furious and has been calling me nonstop, screaming that I ruined his life and demanding that I, quote, make it go away. Like, dude, I don't exactly have an undo viral button. He even tried to report the video, which only made it spread faster. Now random people on the internet are calling him names, and he's acting like I orchestrated this just to humiliate him. And of course my parents are mad at me for this, because somehow in their mind this is my fault. They're saying that I should have just let him bring his kids to avoid all this drama. Like, my wedding was supposed to be built around keeping him from throwing a tantrum. It's honestly exhausting. They keep saying how he's family, and how I need to have compassion for him. And my mother even said, you know how he is. Why do you keep setting him up to fail? Well, that broke me a little. It was like hearing my entire childhood all over again. My brother causes chaos, and I'm the one who has to bend, compromise, and make myself smaller so that he doesn't have to deal with the consequences. It's like I'm a kid again, watching him throw a fit while my parents turn to me and ask why I couldn't just, quote, let it go, why I couldn't keep the peace. But this time I didn't cave. I held my boundaries, and now they're treating me like I'm the one who betrayed the family. It hurts. I won't lie about that. As funny as the internet chaos is, the reality of my parents once again choosing his side stings. No matter what he does, no matter how extreme, they always find a way to excuse it. But you know what? I'm done being the one who has to accommodate them. I deserve to have my boundaries respected. And if my own family won't do that, then maybe it's time I stop worrying about their approval. Luckily, my husband has been amazing through all of this. He keeps reminding me that we get to decide the kind of life that we want. We even started seriously talking about moving, just getting away from all this drama and starting fresh. The idea of a life without the constant stress is honestly kind of freeing. It's hard to imagine, but I think we deserve peace. Meanwhile, my brother is still spiraling, and at this point I would not put it past him to try to physically challenge my husband to a rematch. I don't know. Wetbait 3. My brother tried to hire guys to beat my husband up, but they snitched on him. Just when I thought my brother could not sink any lower, he tried to hire people to beat up my husband. Yep, you read that right. He tried to hire a bunch of guys to beat up my husband. He thinks that we're some sort of Italian mob family, or that this is a normal occurrence or something. First of all, we're of French descent. Have you ever heard of the French mob? No, because they just attack with judgmental looks and rude mutterings under their breath. Second of all, what was his grand plan here? Was he going to stand ominously in the shadows while they, quote, taught my husband a lesson and then disappear into the night like some low-budget villain? Or was he planning to write an anonymous Yelp review about the efficiency of hired thugs? And let's not even get into the fact that he has no idea how much something like that costs. What did he think? He could Venmo them $50 and call it a day? Hey guys, make it quick. I'm out of budget. My brother is such a fool, a total, complete fool. It's honestly embarrassing to admit that the two of us are related in any way. He must have thought that he would be able to convince a bunch of guys not to squeal on him and go to the police. The real kicker, they weren't even very threatening, just some 20-somethings who hang around the mall parking lot smoking a cigarette, and I don't mean regular cigarettes, if you know what I mean. Yeah, they're stoners. How can you trust a stoner to beat someone up? They're more likely to grab a bunch of snacks, lay on the couch, and watch reruns of old shows and call it a day. Or maybe an episode about ancient mysteries where they nod along and say, yeah, that makes sense. Honestly, I don't know if I'm more appalled by the fact that he tried to do this, or embarrassed for him that he thought it would work. Guys, I'm getting off topic. After his pool dunk moment went viral, he decided the best way to fix his reputation wasn't taking accountability or laying low, but trying to jump my husband. And because he's both entitled and foolish, he didn't even do it discreetly. He straight up asked some guys he knew to rough up my husband, and one of them immediately snitched. So the police in our small town decided to do a bit of a sting. They don't have much else to do here, trust me on that. The most crime we have here is a bicycle theft ring that was run by a 14-year-old. This gave the police something to do and helped put our tax dollars to good work, in my opinion. And let me tell you, they went all out. Fake tough guy undercover officers, surveillance vans parked half a mile away, the whole deal. For what? To bust my foolish brother, trying to slip a couple of wrinkled 20s to a bunch of dudes who probably forgot what they were even hired for mid-conversation. I'm just waiting for the moment he realizes he's the punchline to his own bad joke. Well, anyways, my brother was arrested after they got him on video, and money was exchanged. I guess I should be grateful he did not decide to hire anyone to actually harm my husband or me, because I've heard of that happening. Somebody gets angry at someone, and then the next thing you know, the police are knocking at your door, saying somebody tried to hire someone to hurt you. It's so strange. And honestly, I wouldn't put it past my brother to try something like that if he had the brain cells to pull it off. Well, luckily for me, he doesn't. His whole plan fell apart faster than a cheap deck of cards, and now he's sitting in a holding cell, probably wondering how his brilliant scheme went so wrong. The funniest part, when they arrested him, he had the nerve to act shocked. And you know what my favorite part of this whole disaster is? The police didn't even have to pressure the guys he tried to hire. They immediately flipped on him, not just because they were high and had zero loyalty, but because, get this, they thought that he was setting them up what date for. My brother tried to flee the courtroom and got more charges thrown at him. Well, if you thought the drama ended after the wedding fiasco, think again. My brother somehow managed to take things to an even more ridiculous level. We went to court for the charges against him, and everything was proceeding as expected until he decided that the best course of action was to run. Yeah, in the middle of the courtroom, he tried to make a break for it. Security was on him almost immediately, but not before he caused an even bigger scene, knocking over a chair and nearly crashing into one of the court officers. It was honestly so surreal, like something out of a bad comedy. People in the courtroom were gasping, and the judge looked done with him. Needless to say, that brilliant move did not go over well. And now he's facing even more charges on top of everything else. Well, as if that wasn't enough, my parents are now begging me to drop everything because he's family and has been through enough. Never mind the fact that he tried to crash my wedding, pick a fight with my husband, and then literally plot to have him attacked. They're acting like this was just a minor disagreement instead of a full-blown crime spree. They kept telling me that family sticks together through thick and thin, but how thick do you want me to get before I realize they're enabling his behavior? You know, at this point, I don't even know what to say. Every time I think this situation could not get more absurd, my brother somehow finds a way to outdo himself. I'm standing my ground, though. He made his choice, and now he has to deal with the consequences. I know it's hard for them to see it, but I'm not going to keep putting myself in the middle of this chaos. Honestly, I would not be surprised if he pulled another stunt before this is all over. If anything, I'm just waiting for him to somehow find a way to make this mess even worse. At least then, I'll be ready. Well, I've even started seriously considering moving. It's not like I haven't thought about it before, but with all the constant drama, I'm wondering if it's time to just get out. Maybe a fresh start somewhere away from all this would give me some peace. It's hard to imagine living without the weight of this mess, but at the same time, can I keep sacrificing all of my happiness for a situation that just feels like it's only going to get worse? Maybe it's time to take control and create a new life for myself. I don't know, and I'm not doing this alone. My husband and I have been talking about starting fresh, just the two of us, away from the chaos of what I call family. I'm excited about the idea of building a life together. With all this stress hanging over us, it feels like the right time to step away and focus on the future that we want to create, family or not. I think we deserve that. I've never liked my sister, but I still let her in when she needed help. I gave her everything she could ask for and more, took her in at her literal worst, ignored her lies, and took care of her demands as best I could. And she paid me back by stabbing me in the back. If you were in my place, wouldn't you have thrown her out? Because that's what I did. But my family seems to think I made a mistake. Let me provide some context first. I, Emma, 38, female, hate my sister because she made me hate her. I have never been my family's favorite. My younger sister, Sophie, has always been the sun in everyone's sky. She could set the house on fire, and my parents would ask if I gave her the match. Meanwhile, I got good grades, stayed out of trouble, and kept my head down. But all I ever got asked was to be more like her. She showed me early on that she didn't have any love or care for me. And although I tried to treat her like a sister for a while, I had to give up. She didn't want a sister, and she made it clear that I wasn't family to her. So, I stopped caring too. After college, I finally moved out, hoping to make a peaceful life for myself. Then, I fell in love with the most gentle, kind man I'd ever met. Matt made me feel like I mattered for once. I finally had someone who saw me. We got married, and I felt that after everything I had gone through, I finally got my happy ending. But that's not how life really works. If it doesn't want you to be happy, it will do everything in its power to drag you down to despair. Because about a year ago, Matt passed away just like that. No warning, no goodbye. One minute I was folding laundry, the next I was picking out a coffin. Losing him felt like losing a big part of me. Something in me had died with him. Life became colorless, food tasteless, and I kind of forgot how to be happy. Since then, my world has been quiet, and not the peaceful kind. The kind that creeps up on you at night. The kind that makes the walls feel too close, even in a big house. The kind where every room echoes with memories. His shoes at the door, his coffee mug on the counter, and his voice in the back of my head reminding me to breathe. I wish I could tell you how much has changed in a year. Living in the same house where I share a million memories of Matt is tough. And I've thought about moving out several times, but I never could. The house makes me sad, but it also makes me happy. This is the only place where I can almost see him whenever I feel like it. I've been trying to stay afloat. I didn't let myself fall apart, at least not on the outside. I still went to work. I still paid bills. I still smiled when people told me that I was very strong and I could get through this. But on the inside, I was crumbling. I still am. That's when she showed up. My sister, out of nowhere, asking for help. The same sister who didn't even call me once after I lost the love of my life. And it's not like she didn't know. My whole family came to support me, so she was told about it, but she just didn't care enough about me to even leave a message. Most people in my position would not even have listened to her, but I did. She looked rough, thin, and pale, like she hadn't eaten or slept properly in weeks, and she spun the most dramatic sob story you can imagine. She told me she got framed at her job and lost everything. She said that she couldn't go back to our parents because she didn't want them to know she was a failure. She then told me that I was the only one she could go to, the only person she trusted after our parents. It was clear that all of this was a lie meant to manipulate me into letting her stay. But it was also clear that she wasn't doing well. And I knew that she had gotten fired a while ago and that she was going through a lot. Believe me, I didn't want to help her. Like I've said multiple times, I have no love for her, but something stopped me from turning her away. I think it was because she was just as miserable as me, and since I couldn't help myself, maybe I thought I would feel better if I helped her. Maybe for a second, I even thought that we could become sisters again. But I should have known that was never going to happen. A person like Sophie doesn't change no matter what she goes through. Anyway, I let her in, and she thanked me by making my life more miserable and stabbing me in the back. For the first few days, things were okay. She cooked once, did laundry once, said thank you a lot. But then, slowly, the mask slipped. She stopped looking for jobs. She slept till noon. She used up all my expensive shampoo, demanded new skincare products, asked me to buy her clothes, and got passive-aggressive when I hesitated. She took over the living room like it was her throne, and started ordering me around like I was her maid. And yet, I still didn't kick her out. I genuinely cannot explain why. I think I just felt really bad for her. I thought maybe she was just adjusting, maybe she needed time. And although I did ask her to tone her attitude down, I did nothing about it until 2 days ago, when I looked for my wedding ring. It wasn't just a piece of jewelry, it was the ring. The symbol of the one person who ever made me feel truly loved. The only reason I even put it in a box was so that I would never lose it. I'd open it sometimes when I felt particularly empty, just to hold it and remember Matt, to remember that I had been someone's whole world. I don't think I have to even explain how important this ring was to me. And 2 days ago, when I opened the box, the ring was missing. My mind immediately blamed myself first. I got so scared that I had lost it. I almost had a panic attack. I turned the house upside down. I checked my coat pockets, the laundry basket, and even the trash. Then I started to calm down and I started thinking, when was the last time I even took the ring out of the box? I only ever hold the ring for a few minutes and then put it back. I never even take it anywhere, so how could I lose it? I fully remembered the last time I took out the ring, and after that I kept it in the box. That meant there was only one other person who could have taken it. Sophie, when I confronted her, she had the audacity to act offended. She genuinely looked like I had accused her of murder. I told her there was no need to do this. The ring was way too important to me. If she could just return it, then I would happily forget everything, as long as she promised not to take it again. She screamed that she didn't even know where the ring was. Why would she take it? By this point, I was tearing up, because I know my sister very well. The only time she refuses to take accountability is if it's not possible to reverse what she has done. She kept saying she hadn't done anything, but it was clear to me that she was guilty. There was no one else in the house. Who else could have taken it? I begged her to tell me that she did not sell it for money. I told her that she knows if she had asked, I would have gotten her whatever she wanted, so there was no use in doing this. I begged her to just say the words, that she did not sell it, meaning I would never get it back. She didn't say anything, just looked at me like she had just realized the importance of the ring. I started crying because she kept refusing to admit she had done it and tell me where she had sold it. Then I asked her one last time to tell me the truth. When she still refused, I threw her out of the house. I packed all of her stuff up as she kept begging me not to do this, and then I pushed her out. She left crying, saying that she would make sure I regret my decision, and now she is trying her best to do that. I don't know what kind of lies she fed to my family, but they are telling me that I was wrong to throw her out. My mom called me and told me that I should not have done that to my poor sister, especially when she was at her lowest. They refuse to believe that she stole the ring Matt gave me, or they just don't care about how important it was to me. I have told them that I tried helping her out, but now I'm done, and they are mad. So, I wanted to ask you guys, wouldn't you do the same thing if you were in my place? After I gave her everything, she stole and sold the one thing that was the most important to me. What did she think was going to happen after I found out? Comments. Love Tomorrow says, what told you that she did it? You don't have any proof. All you have been saying is that she looked guilty. What does that even mean? How did she look guilty? Have you even thought about the fact that she didn't do it? You didn't, because it is easy to blame her. You don't even want the ring back. All you want to do is find a reason to blame your sister for your pain. You are the bad guy here. There is no question. What but date one? Hi everyone, I'm Emma. I wrote here about a week ago. This is an update to that. A lot of people commented on my post, and I truly appreciate everyone who showed me love and support. I was not expecting that. A lot of you asked me to move on and let all this go. Everyone said that holding on to all this would just make things worse for me. Believe me, I tried to let it go. I really did. Even when she went crying to my family and tried to blame me, I didn't do anything. I just told them that she was wrong. I thought if I gave it some time, the truth would speak for itself. Maybe my family would realize how insane Sophie's version of the story sounded, that they'd start asking questions, that someone, anyone, would believe me. But that never happened. The longer I stayed silent, the more the lies grew. I kept getting texts and calls from disappointed family members, accusing me of taking advantage of my sister and throwing her out. Some people didn't even ask what happened. They just assumed Sophie was telling the truth. My parents completely stopped talking to me. Dad said that I couldn't be the daughter he raised, so I tried to find out what Sophie had told my family. After getting kicked out for stealing my wedding ring, this is the story she told everyone. She told them that I agreed to take her in when she was struggling. I promised to take care of her and treat her as an equal. But when she moved in, things changed. She said, I humiliated her every day and took advantage of her miserable state. I made her do all the housework and treated her like a maid, all while using her own savings to buy all the stuff I needed. She told them that I used her and emptied all the money she had. And when she was of no use to me anymore, I made up the whole stealing thing and threw her out. Can you even believe how ridiculous this story is? Why would she let herself get used? Why would she not just stay somewhere else if she had money? But my family ate it up, and everybody believed her over me. No matter what I did or said, I could not get them to believe me. When I failed to convince my family, I decided to reach out to Sophie. I didn't yell. I didn't insult her. I simply asked her to tell the truth. Just the truth. I asked her why she had lied about everything I did to her. I told her that if she had not stolen the ring, none of this would have happened. I asked her to tell the family the truth about how I treated her, about everything I did for her. She just laughed and told me that she was telling everyone the truth. She said I threw her out like trash, so I don't get to tell her what to do anymore. She said, this is what I deserve. I didn't say anything after that. I just hung up. There was no point. That conversation stayed with me for hours. It played in my head on a loop, burning through every ounce of restraint I had left. Because while she is out there weaving fairy tales and crying into everyone's arms, I am here sitting on something that could shatter her world completely. Something no one else in the family knows. Something she doesn't even know I know. The real truth about her. The real reason she lost her job. The real reason she's out of money. Why she has been bouncing between couches and playing the sympathy card for months now. I know what she's been doing. I have many friends who worked with her. Some were even inside her friend circle, but she had no idea. That is also why I know for sure that she sold the ring, because I know what she bought with the money. I never told anyone, because I didn't think it was my place to out her like that. Also, I thought she was trying to get better, trying to get out of it, and knocking her down was only going to make things worse. That is also why I let her in when she showed up at the door. I knew she was struggling really badly. Now I know she wasn't. She isn't trying to get out of all this. She doesn't care about the consequences. She just does what she feels like. And I've been protecting her while she's been out there destroying my name. I don't want to be vindictive. I don't want to humiliate her. But I also don't think I can sit quietly anymore while she turns my whole family against me. So now, I'm wondering if I should just do it. Tell everyone the truth about their perfect daughter. It will destroy everything she has now, and will possibly make things infinitely worse for her. That is the only reason I am even having this conversation. Is it fair for me to do this, considering everything she has done? Update 2. Hi guys, another week has passed, and I understand everyone who tried to tell me not to do this. Many of you believe that no matter what she is doing, she doesn't deserve to get outed like this and have her life destroyed for my revenge. I completely understand that, but I'm still going to do it. Still, I gave her every chance to come clean. Last update, I begged her to tell the truth, not even for me but for herself, to stop pretending, to take responsibility for the damage she caused before it got worse. But she didn't. She just laughed, like none of this mattered, like I was the joke, like I deserved everything that happened to me. That's when I knew I wasn't protecting her anymore. I was enabling her, and I was done. The only reason I ever stayed silent was because I thought there was still something good in her, that maybe she was spiraling. But deep down she wanted help. But it's clear now that she doesn't want to get better. She just wants to keep playing victim as long as it gets her sympathy, a roof over her head, and someone else to blame. So, I did something I should have done a long time ago. I started gathering everything. I spoke to my friends and tried to collect as much evidence as I could of Sophie using drugs. I got photos, videos, and confessions, voice recordings of her own friends discussing how to help her. Her friends admitted that she was too far gone and explained why they cut her off. Spoiler alert, she started stealing from them. Sounds a bit familiar, doesn't it? I spoke to my friend who worked with her, who gave me evidence that she was kicked out of her job because they found out she used drugs. Now, nobody in the same industry is willing to hire her. I even contacted her ex-boyfriend, the one she dumped a year ago. He told me everything about the late-night calls, the paranoia, the time she showed up at his place high out of her mind, begging for money, how he had to cut her off completely when she started stealing from him too. This was so much worse than what I had thought. I almost started feeling bad for her. The version of Sophie that my family believes in, that girl died a long time ago. At this point, the only thing she has is her family. I just wish she hadn't done all this and made her own life worse. I would have helped her genuinely. I was prepared to, but she didn't need it. I found receipts, literal ones, from months ago, where she spent hundreds on pills and powders instead of food or rent. Her friends thought she was getting clean, but clearly she wasn't. They were shocked she was even still using. Apparently, she hides it well. That's what she's been hiding from everyone. That's what she spent her savings on. That's why she sold my wedding ring. That ring bought her a 2-day high, and she would have done it again if I hadn't found out. After I collected all this proof, I thought to myself, if I was really ready to destroy her life. Honestly, all I want is for the truth to come out, nothing else. I don't want her to get punished, and I'm certainly not doing this to ruin her life. So I decided to give her one more chance. I spoke with her again, and this time I told her that I understand she has been through a lot. I told her so have I, and asked her to just tell the family the truth and be done with all this. I told her that if she came clean, I would help her and support her, and so would the whole family. But if they found out the truth any other way, she would not have half of what she has now. Sophie asked me if that was supposed to be a threat. She reminded me how things in our family work. She was the first choice, and I was the last. She said she has always been superior to me, and nothing I can do can change that. She said the truth is whatever she feels like it. This really made me angry, and I told her that she is going to regret doing this. She told me I don't have enough power to make her regret anything. After that, she cut the call. So, I think I don't really have to explain to you what I'm going to do. You saw me give her multiple chances, but if she is ready to ruin my life just for her ego, I am not going to hesitate to do the same to her to bring out the truth. I wish she would have just accepted everything and asked for help. But now I will have to tell the whole family that their favorite daughter is a drug addict and has ruined her whole life for it. Wait 3. It's been over a month, and I did it. I told them everything. It's hard to believe, but I did not do it out of revenge. Yes, I was angry at her, but I would have never done this if she had not pushed me to the point where I had no choice. I only did it because it was the only way to stop her from dragging me down any further. I messaged the family group chat, every relative, every family friend, every person who had called me a disappointment, who had blindly believed her and treated me like the villain. I didn't even say much, just shared the files, the photos, the videos, the screenshots of texts, the receipts, the messages from her coworkers, the recordings of her friends, people who used to love her, talking about how they had to cut her off for their own safety, the ones who said she was stealing from them too. And then I turned off my phone. When I turned it back on the next morning, my inbox was full. Missed calls, messages, apologies, shock, disbelief. Some of them even sent me voice notes crying. My aunt said she couldn't believe she let herself fall for Sophie's lies. Mom asked me to come see them, so I did. I told my parents everything, right from the start, about how I knew what she had been going through and why I let her in, what she did later, and how they believed her lies. Mom was still skeptical. It was tough for her to believe that her daughter could do something like this. Dad apologized and told me that he had no idea this was the truth. He believed his daughter blindly and blamed me for everything that was wrong with her. He told me he was not going to make that mistake again and apologized once more. I told him I was really mad at them because they didn't even give me a chance to explain myself, just blamed me blindly. I told Dad it was going to take me a little time to forgive them. Dad said I could take as long as I needed. Dad also told me that after he learned the truth, he called and texted Sophie, but she did not respond. She was refusing to talk to anyone, which just proved everything I was saying about her. A few days later, she called Dad, apologizing to him and asking him to forgive her and take her in. But this time he told her that she was not his daughter anymore. He told her he and the rest of the family were done with her. He asked her never to come back. After that, Sophie disappeared. Until a few days ago, when I heard a knock on the door. It was her. She looked nothing like how she was just a month ago. Her hair was a mess, her eyes swollen. She looked small, like someone who had just lost a war she thought she'd already won. She asked if we could talk. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. I thought she was going to get mad about what I did, but she just cried, told me she had nowhere to go, that everyone had cut her off, that she made a huge mistake, that she didn't know what she was doing, that she needed help, that she was sorry. She told me that she finally realized I was helping her, even though I knew she was lying. She said she never should have taken that ring, and that she tried to find it, but the dealer she sold it to had already sold it on. She begged me to let her sleep in my garage. Not the house, the garage. That is how desperate she was. I stared at her for a long time, and for a moment I saw the sister I wanted her to be. The one I had hoped would show up that day at my door, when I was grieving and broken, and still trying to be kind. But then I thought that this sister of mine never really existed. I told her I wish I could help, but I can't. She ruined the one thing I had left of Matt, and then tried to turn my whole family against me. She started sobbing harder, asking where she was supposed to go. I told her I don't care where she goes, but she is not staying with me, and then I walked back inside and closed the door. She didn't knock again, and honestly, I don't know where she went. Neither do I care. She chose to go this route. She chose to do this. It is not on me that she has to face the consequences of her actions. Comments. Alberticio9990 says, "You did not do anything wrong here, OP. She is the one who dug her own grave. She did all this by herself. Nobody asked her to betray you. Even when she did, you did not expose her. You only did that when you had no other option. She forced you to tell everyone the truth. Honestly, this thing might jolt her awake. A person as far gone as her needs something like this to bring them back to reality. You did not ruin her life, OP. You gave her a chance to become better.